Hey, pals, we're here to tell you and preview for you this week in comics and something that I saw a listener call it this, and I kind of liked it. I'm affectionately in my mind calling this Pals Previews. We are going to preview for
Mm.
you and talk to you about the books that we are most looking forward to this week, the books that will be on Pals Pulls, and we're going to spotlight one of us. One of us is going to have the spotlight on them to talk about any book they want to talk about that they're excited about outside of the weekly grind of this week's comics. So let's kick things off with what we can expect for Pals Pulls this week, which is going to be the show will be on Wednesday because of Thanksgiving. So we want to make sure you know that. Come live at 6 p.m. on Wednesday to hear us talk about these books. So, kicking things off is the beginning of the new era of the Justice League with Justice League Unlimited #1.
Let's go.
Yes, yes. We are all super excited for that. Mark Waid finally getting his chance to sort of drive the ship at DC with this Justice League book. Will be joined by Dan Mora, superstar artist Dan Mora. This is the same team from World's Finest, so they're just kind of transitioning over. And then Tamra Bonvillain, who was
Ooh,
also on World's Finest with them, I
Correct.
think.
Correct.
right. Yep.
So
The entirety of the team. Honestly, a gold package. Gold package.
It's funny. We this cannot be on the poll going forward. The poll rather, because it's going to have the world's finest effect. Like I guess we're just going to have to keep talking about this book whenever it's out.
We'll see.
it's the same creative team you love doing the work on every Justice League member because the Justice League has expanded to
Yep.
include almost every superhero. So this is exciting. Arguably the most exciting Justice League #1 in a decade or more. So be there for that. We've also got Absolute Wonder Woman #2, Kelly Thompson, Hayden Sherman, Jordi Belair, Beckett Carey. That's the creative team. We all read issue 1. We saw the sales figures, so we know we all read it. It was tremendous, and I can't wait for more.
Yeah, I sat down and I actually read this one with Jade, because I wanted her to get into a comic, and she's like, "That was fun. Let's go for the next one."
This being your partner, right?
My
Just
partner, right,
just
right.
throwing
Just
colloquial
Jade.
names out here. I'm like, oh, you're hanging out with
I thought I mentioned this in the past.
hanging out with Green
New show, new
Lantern's
people.
daughter.
Yeah. So Absolute Wonder Woman #2 is going to be a lot of fun, certainly. Black Canary, Best of the Best #1, a new Tom King miniseries that is generally where he does his best work. He will be joined this time around by Ryan Sook on art, colors by Dave Stewart, letters by Clayton Cowles. We've seen some interior previews. This book looks incredible. It seems to be based around the idea that Black Canary is the best fighter in the DC universe if she can prove it in a battle to the death versus Lady Shiva. What's your excitement level?
When we talked to Tom King when he was on the show, he talked about how this might be influenced a lot by his son's new fascination with pro wrestling and WWE. And that sold me. So I will be reading this book for that alone, really. It just seems like it could be dumb fun.
Yeah.
See, all-star creative team, that story sounds great. You actually had me until the influence.
Oh, I think that'll be I think that's gonna be fun. I like to see a character go all out, drawn by such a star artist.
Sook's no slouch either.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it'll be another uh feast for the eyes, certainly. King gets all of these incredible artists. But he's also writing it. So
Well, a lot of people love Tom King. I include myself among them. This should be a lot of fun. We will see how we feel about it when we get to the review proper. Hornsby and Halo #1 is a new Ghost Machine title. This is from the Family Odysseys corner of Ghost Machine. It's basically the idea of heaven and hell trading children and seeing the way in which they are raised by their opposites. So a child of hell being raised by, heaven and vice versa. It's Peter Tomasi. So his second at bat with the
Oh,
Ghost Machine titles with art by Peter Schneiberg. colors by John Callis. We were able to see some of the interior stuff for this book at New York Comic Con. It all looks fantastic. Surely those previews are on the internet if you want to be teased. But I can tell you that it looks incredible, and Pete Tomasi is doing great work already at Ghost Machine with Rockefellers #1. So I expect this to be another banger.
There was a bit of a snippet in it in the Ghost Machine 1 that came out last year.
Right.
So we've had a little bit of a
Right.
taste, a little bit of the moosh boosh for it. Anytime I think of the premise, it sounds like wife swap with God in hell, which I kind of like that idea. So Tomasi, great writer in my eyes, so I'm excited to read this.
I felt like this was one of those that I was lukewarm on of the selection. So I'm hopeful because I really like the Rockefellers, and I want to see what else Tomasi can kind of bring to this. But I'm a little not hesitant. I'm wary, so I'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. I reading the #1, I was probably also a little lukewarm on this, but again, I didn't realize it was Tomasi on it. And after the Rockefellers,
Hmm.
with where the Ghost Machine #1 left off, I remember having questions and at least being intrigued by the ending of that. So I'm optimistic.
Awesome. And last up, we have what is quickly becoming Old Faithful. We've got Uncanny X-Men #6. This book is coming out constantly, it feels like. And speaking to that, they needed to get a fill-in artist for this particular issue. Gail Simone is joined on this issue by Javier Garron, so no slouch by any means. Colors by Matt Wilson and letters by Clayton Cowles. Jubilee is going to be undergoing a solo mission. Meanwhile, it's back to school for the New Mutants who we've been introduced to throughout this series. They're going to be attending school in Louisiana. And this little slice of life issue is going to, I guess you could say, close out the arc.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for this actually. I like the one and done cool down issues sometimes for these ongoing books. And if it's a slice of life, like you just said, Gail Simone writes real good slice of life. So if she can tap into that, then I'm down. And Garone is great.
Yeah, this has been a winner. This has been of the new X-Men titles that I think has kept its momentum. And similar to Tyler, if this is going to be kind of like that in between one, I enjoy those. So those are fun romps, and I think that Gail's capable. And Marquez.
I'm just excited I won't have to read an entire issue with Jubilee.
Understandable. Now, really quick, I want to make a PSA, leave you guys with a PSA that these books will not all of these books will be available in physical. Diamond distributors who put out a lot of comics, get them to stores. They had a distribution issue. So a lot of the Marvel stuff we talked about, some of the Image stuff we talked about will not be available in stores. So if you are a physical reader, you're probably going to have to wait until next week to be able to get those books in physical. But digital readers for this week only are winning because they will be able to presumably get all their books without any delays.
And if not, we'll let you know. If Marvel decides like, oh, if nobody can read it, maybe they delay digital. It's possible. Comixology has been weird lately as well.
Yeah.
So
Great point.
Now, those books are the ones that are guaranteed to make the show. We are absolutely going to talk about those 5 books. But there is one more book that will make the show, and that one is determined by you guys in the Pals poll every single week. YouTube.com/thecommicspals under the community tab. You get to vote on the last book that will take place as a part of Pals poll. So, and on the poll, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4, Amazing Spider-Man #62, Hyde Street #2, and Void Rivals #14.
Let's go.
no
TMNT
DC.
winning right now. Sorry.
No DC. This is a purposeful decision, I guess.
a purposeful decision on my part that has gone disastrously bad because these books won't be in stores. They'll only be online.
Forgot
So
about that.
Should have only been DC.
Hubris.
timing, timing. It's a hell of a thing. So we always talk about the books on Pals Pulls, but we want to get into some honorable mentions. These are the books that don't necessarily make the main show that we're really into, and we kind of want you to pay attention to. We think that you might like these books. So we're gonna rattle off some honorable mentions right now in hopes that maybe you guys will pick up one of these. Marco, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, perfect. And my choice is High Street number 2, so definitely selectable there if you want to listen to it. We all had a pretty favorable review of number 1. I wasn't on that one, but I really enjoyed the book. I thought this was a great voice for Johns, different from stuff that we've seen, and so the fact that he was able to make that transition into this horror-led, paranormal kind of uh, tension building, I thought was a lot of fun. And then Von Reese, man, come on, Lil Pranky, damn, dude, scary as shit. So I'm excited to see how this kind of continues on in an issue 2, and it being more of like of the week type story. I think is fun. Very excited for this one. Highly recommend it.
Cale?
So my honorable mention is Ultra Mega number 7.
Yeah.
By James Herron and colored by Dave Stewart. This is an incredible book. It takes on the Kaiju series, and it's sort of a violent parody of the Ultraman show. It's full of the nastiest looking aliens, blood, guts, and gore, and all of the things that a kid-friendly company can't show you. This book is just chock full of it. And this is sort of the middle of the arc, but if you were really into this when it came out in, by the way, 2021, it's been
Damn.
3 years since we saw this book.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
You're missing out on 2 issues. Go pick them up.
Tyler?
Mine's a weird one. So it's the final issue, issue number 6 of Multiverses, Collision Detected. So this is the tie-in comic for DC's platform fighter game, Multiverses, or rather Warner Brothers platform fighting game, Multiverses. This is written by Brian Q. Miller, who I haven't seen in comics for a while, and he came back to this. He had done the really fantastic Stephanie Brown Batgirl book way back when.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
With art by John Somariva. I think Steve Orlando was credited as co-writer in some of these issues, but not for issue 6. This has been a lot of fun. It is just kind of dumb. It's Bugs Bunny showing up and getting interrogated by Batman. Where it's what's the Sharon Stone movie where she opens her legs? The Fatal Attraction, I think.
Yeah.
They play on that with Bugs Bunny. So it's weird. Wonder Woman is going up against the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz. Like, it's just dumb fun like that. Brainiac gets infested with Rick Sanchez's mind from Rick and Morty. It's weird. But it's been a lot of fun. For a tie-in comic, I think it's really, really good. So I'd recommend it.
My honorable mention is, I think, maybe the best book that people aren't reading right now. And it's called The Tin Can Society. This is issue 3. It's written by Peter Warren with art by Francesco Mobley and colors by Chris Chuckry, sorry. This is a book that it's not even on my radar like that. The only reason I bought it is because it's coming from Giant Generator, which is Rick Remender's imprint. And I was like, well, this is the first Giant Generator book not written by Rick. Let's see what we get. What I got knocked me on my ass, and I had no expectations at all. Essentially, it's the story of a guy who grew up without use of his legs, and he's a genius. So he figures out a way to create a suit of armor that essentially will, first he creates legs that allow him to walk, and then it develops into a suit of armor. He is murdered. The story is about his friends trying to figure out who murdered him, who should take the armor now that this guy is dead, and what his death means for the rest of the world. It is an incredible series, very thoughtful, very, very well written. I highly recommend it.
Do you feel like it fits into Remender's type of storytelling to fit in with Giant Generator?
No.
Or okay.
No, it's very much a different flavor than what Remender would typically bring, but it does have the Remender thoughtfulness that I think is always present.
Interesting. That one was on my radar, but I haven't picked it up. So I'm glad that you're liking it because it gives me a point of reference.
It's so good, dude. Okay. Now is the time to put the spotlight on one of us. One of us who has something to say about a book that they really love. Last week we did Marco Minute. That was a mistake. This week we're going to try and see what Cale can do. Let's put the spotlight on Cale and let Cale talk about any book he wants. Cale, what book are you going to tell us about?
Don't worry, everyone. I'm going to keep this squarely in a field that we all love. Our DC comic superheroes.
There you go.
The thing is, I'm going to take it back to 1972.
Jesus.
If you are I'm going to hype my own Patreon here. If you are on the Comics Pals Patreon, I have been doing my read through of the Fourth World Jack Kirby omnibus. Look at that bad boy.
Whoa.
Holy shit. Ooh,
That's
a
big.
nice
That's bigger than the good book itself.
It's well, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, now this is the good book. You can see this little mark in here. That's my bookmark. I made it exactly that far, a 16th into the book before I had to go back to digital because my weak digital wrists are too they're not strong enough to lift it anymore.
Feeble digital reader.
Man,
That's right.
That backflip attempt really fucked you up, huh?
I'm telling you, y'all keep making fun of me. So this book is the entirety of Kirby's Fourth World Saga, and it's right now it's weaving between Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Mr. Miracle, the New Gods, and the Forever People. Now, yeah. And it's crazy the way this is working because Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen introduces something called the Mountain of Judgment. And basically it's a superhighway in the middle of this cosmic-sized truck. It's nuts. Inside it are hippies. Now, the hippies are basically from I think they're the people who live on the New Gods world, the one that's not apocalypse, New Genesis. That's all Superman stuff. This in Superman, they are seeding Darkseid and like the little bits and pieces of Darkseid. You get his little minions doing little minion things. I think this is where Doomsday is actually created. I'm not positive about that. But in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Darkseid comes across as a very scheming manipulator, just a kind of a standard villain. And then it sort of builds and you start to see more of what Darkseid is doing. The first time we see Darkseid fully is in the Forever People. Now, the Forever People is just a weird crowd of New Genesis residents who decided to come to Earth and be superheroes. It's like the Eternals, basically. It's so-so. What I came here to talk about was the New Gods book, because that's where it all comes together. The New Gods title follows Orion and his battle against Darkseid and the forces of evil, ostensibly. it's funny that this week we're talking about Hornsby and Halo and how they are the child of God and the child of the devil. Orion is actually Darkseid's son. And I mean, spoilers if you haven't read the Fourth World stuff, he and Mr. Miracle were switched at birth to keep a peace between New Genesis and Apocalypse. Orion, this many years later, gets a finger from God that says Apocalypse is going to start war on Earth. And he says, well, not if I have anything to say about it. And he goes to Apocalypse to beat the shit out of Darkseid. But Darkseid hasn't been on Apocalypse for something like 20 years. He's kidnapping people, trying to find the anti-life equation. Now, the anti-life equation is free will. Kirby starts using the anti-life equation and Darkseid as like this massive commentary. So far, there's only issue 2 of this massive commentary of what seems to be like the burgeoning hippie movement, as well as like bits and pieces of the military and capitalism, like all wrapped into one. As Orion comes to Earth to beat up Darkseid, and he's kidnapping people. Darkseid's trying to make these sweeping movements to find the equation, but it's just not happening yet. And it's just the way all of this weaves together is absolutely incredible. If you have any access to DC Universe or this omnibus itself, it will make you a worshiper at the House of Kirby, and I highly, 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 highly recommend it, because the way it's working between the titles is like nothing I've ever seen pre-2000.
And Cale, you showed us how far you got in the book physically, but how far are you digitally? Like, how many issues have you read?
I think I'm up to 10 or 12.
Okay.
Sean, that was better.
Wow.
My man said 5 minutes in. And now the reason I wanted to talk to you today.
Oh wow, is this what this segment's gonna be? I thought it was interesting.
I don't
Marco,
like
I'm
this one
loving
bit.
you right now.
I
I
like
don't like this one bit.
I like
That's not what I came here for.
Thank you to Cale for his spotlight on Jack Kirby's Fourth World, a pivotal book in obviously the history of DC Comics and the history of comics in general.
And Cale.
And Cale,
Yeah.
the ever unfolding story of Cale. We have an ever unfolding story as well across all of our shows. Tune in this Wednesday for Pals Pulse so that you can hear us talk about the books that we previewed earlier. And then tune in Saturday to listen to us talk about the wide, wide world of comic books and everything that is going on in our favorite industry. Thank you so much for listening.
We'll be guessing our picks.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Before we cut out of here, yes, let's guess what our pick of the week next week or this week on Pals Pulls will be.
I got Wonder Woman 2. Absolute Wonder Woman number 2. I adored the first issue. We had a great conversation on it. And I think that Thompson is going to continue this momentum with Sherman at the helm of just navigating the emotion of the book. Kelly's really driving that action, and man, swinging a big old sword around, fighting these demon alien monsters. Yes, get it right in the veins, please.
It's gonna be hard for JLU not to be good in my pick of the week. We've been so long without a Justice League comic, and then putting the team on my favorite DC book on a Justice League comic, like it's just a recipe for just happiness for me. That being said, absolute Wonder Woman probably gonna be fantastic, but I'm just so excited for JLU.
think that's where I'm at. I think my pick's going to be JLU.
Super, super torn because I agree with everything Tyler said, but I also agree with everything Marco said. I think I'm going to go with Justice League, though, because it's a number one and because there's an opportunity to do something really cool. And we haven't had a Justice League book in a long time. This feels like a momentous occasion. I'm all in on Justice League number one. What do you think your pick of the week will be? What book are you most excited about? What is on your pull list? Share it in the comments below. Let us know what you're thinking about this week in comics. Let us know what you're thinking about this show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care, guys.
See you on Wednesday.